The government has recently announced that it plans to improve how Black, Asian, and minority ethnic students perform at university, putting the spotlight back on an issue that has blighted the higher education sector so far. This is the first paragraph from a Guardian article titled "Universities Should Be Punished for Giving Black Students Lower Grades." It is written by the Vice-Chancellor of Kingston University. We are not going to be addressing the fact that he works for Kingston at all. I just wanted to highlight the fact that this is from somebody who speaks from a position of authority, I guess, which in and of itself is a fallacy, I know, but what he says could be argued to be the fallacy, and I want to point that out if it crops up. The arguments on the base of it from this article are quite simple, and some of the more interesting ideas put forward come from what they consider to be fact, but what I noted as fact just alerted me to the fact that the race realists of 2017-2018, the people that destroyed Kraut's channel before Kraut destroyed the channel himself with those videos on the doxing server, they would get, upon reading this, very, very moist. Because what is being pushed in the article is a way to get more people of ethnic minority backgrounds to get better grades, to have more opportunity. Because they have equality, now they have to have more equality. It's the bedroom feminism 2015, but in current year for ethnic minority groups who have the opportunity, but now need to be given absolute certainty that they have the opportunity nailed down, courtesy of government interventions, and of course racial quotas, which many will push for under the guise of diversity. I'm all for diversity, by the way, but in education I am more interested in meritocracy. That is a position I will always hold, because your intellect is more valuable to me than the hue of your epidermis. It is an utterly irrelevant fact, in academia especially, unless your focus is on, and then whichever racial group you are, and then cultural, historical factors that are at all relevant to that race. In which case you're fine, so I guess maybe race does play a part. Much to my chagrin, the stark fact is that according to the latest figures, just 66% of BAME students achieved a first or 2-1 degree in 2016 to 2017, compared to 79.6% of white students. This is an issue affecting all universities and requires a deep understanding of the factors involved and a genuine commitment to addressing the gap. There is no quick fix. I would argue nothing needs to be fixed. People are making personal choices to choose a degree that they believe is what they want. Some are not getting grades that are worthy of acknowledging that they got a degree. 2-1, okay, sure, you got a degree, you're precious. 2-2, don't even bother. A third, yeah, just give up, okay? This disparity, while one of interest to people who are looking for a problem, just tells me that perhaps the support wasn't there for those of BAME backgrounds, possibly, or they chose subjects they were not good enough for. I would also point out that yes, the race realists are rubbing one out to this right now, and that annoys me, but it is not relevant today. If we truly want universities to have a meaningful impact on society, a handful doing the heavy lifting around access and attainment is simply not enough. We need universities to make this a strategic commitment. This means ensuring inclusivity is used as a measure of the quality of our courses. What you're doing by saying this is that the current system in place where the best grades succeed is not good enough, because now there are people from racial backgrounds that are not white who might feel marginalized and oppressed because they're not doing as well as their white counterpart, much like white people would feel significantly vulnerable in a mathematics room with a bunch of Chinese students. It's that same thing, except the white people hold all the structures of power, remember? If we're really going to close the BAME attainment gap, a thing apparently, then we need incentives from the government, which on the face of it sounds like what we need to do is when a university gives more or makes things easier for people of ethnic minority backgrounds, what we should do is throw money at them as a reward for putting more time and more effort into people who are not good enough for the subjects they are studying to get the grades they would need to otherwise succeed when they ordinarily would not. What I noticed when I was at university was that nobody helped because I went to lectures, I took down notes, and then it was down to me to do the research. It was down to me to study. It was down to me to understand what I was trying to learn. and then I would prove that in seminars, or those things, form, guy, tutor, personal tutor, maybe? It's been too long, okay? And if you're there, hello Jayasuriya. Universities could be recognised and rewarded for their progress through metrics-based exercises, such as the Teaching Excellence Framework, which evaluates universities on the basis of their teaching quality and student outcomes. Yes, I'm very familiar with that. If I remember correctly, I was asked to fill in those little forms frequently about my experience with the teacher or lecturer, and I typically negated all of it by screwing it up and throwing it back at them, on the grounds that I just didn't care. As it stands, a university could be awarded TEF Gold while having no black students attaining a first-class degree. Well, the race of the students doesn't matter, because the grades are what actually mean something. If the university is renowned for pumping out predominantly first-class honours degrees, do you really think the race of the student matters? The answer should be no. It should always be no, because on the face of it, what point does race have when you're trying to succeed? Now, many have argued over the years that people from ethnic minority backgrounds are in some way being held back. I would argue there are many factors that play in this. There may be, because I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, it just does, okay? It will end in 2020, okay? I just need to win an election. There are factors that stop people from succeeding. Poverty, sticking within a community, getting involved in gangs or crime. I'm not isolating a race here, this applies to anyone. There are many factors that hold people back, many factors that stymie one's ability to succeed or get what they want. One must either overcome the obstacle or settle for convenience sake. You don't get anything that you truly want because it's easy. You get it because you put in the hard work. And if that means, as a consequence, people of certain ethnic minority backgrounds struggle, it's not because they don't have the opportunity, it's because they haven't taken the initiative, incentive, or gone the extra mile to either reach out to others for help or to get the help or just to put in the work needed to succeed, and their grades by extension are not as good as that of white people. I would point out, this does not show whether it is STEM or one of those precious humanities degrees. It doesn't state that. So this is a blanket statement in these charts. I will link them below. By all means, go through them. I just don't care. While some universities have made good progress in widening access, it is not enough to get students through the door. We need to get them through their course and enable them to leave with a good degree. By those measures, universities have a lot more work to do. If the job of a university was to teach, then yes. The Office for Students has vowed to use sticks to drive progress in these areas in a higher education market driven by academic reputation. The measures by which we assess good performance should also focus on how well we are contributing to a more equal and diverse society. I'm not sure I need to add a comment to that. It, on the face of it, speaks volumes. To achieve this aim, it's important that universities share best practice. Inspiring examples include Hertfordshire's Inclusive Curriculum Toolkit and Birmingham City's BAME Ambassador Programme, which is designed to promote a greater sense of belonging among learners and create a dialogue between students and staff. Well, that would be true if it wasn't just BAME, and it's not like there are systems in place already that include everyone, but someone had to create something precious for the ethnic minorities, which if anything just creates further division, which is something I take quite a lot of issue. At Kingston, we have adopted a whole university drive to address the BAME attainment gap. This starts from the senior leadership team and as a key performance indicator are KPIs. Across the institution, essentially targets. KPIs, key performance indicator, is a fancy term for targets. I know this because in my last full-time job, KPIs, targets, productivity were the most important part of that business, and it was the most stress-inducing thing I had ever had to tolerate. Using fancy long words, by the way, Mr. Vice-Chancellor, doesn't hold too much stock when there's at least one retard, this retard nonetheless, that knows the slightly simpler term to KPI. If one of our courses doesn't hit our target for BAME attainment, we immediately step in to rectify it. I would love to know how you do that, because honestly, if you are then using a more intersectional lens to fuel or use resources and then channel them towards people of ethnic minority groups, you are excluding others just because they are better. Now yes, of course, I want everyone to succeed, but I would very much like you to clarify whether or not this means if someone cannot get that grade and you do not reasonably believe they could get the first or 2-1 that you want, that you would instead then allocate the resources and not leave white people behind, because apparently they are naturally gifted over their ethnic minority counterparts in whichever field it is you are referencing this for. Our campuses should be a thriving place where students share their experiences and learn from one another, which is why singling out people based on race would be a terrible thing to do. Universities must truly embrace diversity by changing the way they do things to ensure equal opportunities for all students, irrespective of background. I'm guessing you don't see the irony in promoting equality and equal opportunity with some of the stuff you've said in this article. You're precious. I think we're done here. Yeah, I have nothing else to add. I was looking around for something clever to add. Laters.